what really brings us here today is social media influencing has been around for a long time. There are content creators who are simply just posting on Instagram, content creators who are simply just posting on Twitter. But what's unique about these three ladies is they have blogs. And their content can live forever on the blogs. On Twitter, you have to scroll through the feed, and Instagram, but on a blog, it's there, and it's very searchable, and it's easily accessible. So that's kind of where I'm hoping we can start the conversation off today. So I'm not going to go too deep in introductions. I'm going to ask you ladies to introduce yourselves. So we'll start with Chelsea Goodson. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Chelsea, and your blog?
Yeah, I have a blog called Chelsea Bird. I've been blogging in one way or another for the last 10 years. And so I do that kind of as a part-time hustle. I also work at Find Your Influence. So I handle a lot of our campaigns. I manage a lot of our influencers that we work with. And then I also manage talent as well.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Lauren?
I'm Lauren Garcia. I have the blog What Lola Likes, and I have been blogging for about 8 years now. I was doing it as a side hustle for a while, and I know that's one of our questions coming up, but now I'm doing it full time, and I'm a mom of 2, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from.
And Sakura Considine?
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
Considine.
Considine. I
That's
asked
okay.
too. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so I started my blog 5 years ago, and I started it just because I have a business called Blog Ads. Now it's Wella Creative Studio. Some of you guys might know. But I actually transitioned to kind of blogging full time starting this month. So it had been my side hustle for a really long time, but 2018 I kind of made a little bit more effort to kind of seeing it as a business rather than a creative outlet. Started full time this month.
Awesome. So I know that in speaking with a bunch of different bloggers and social media influencers, there's really a preference for being called a social media influencer or being called a content creator. Just so that I can get it right as we go through here, do either of you have different preferences?
I don't know. I'd say social media influencer over content creator, only because for me personally, I feel like content creation isn't as personal.
Okay.
Saying it's just creating it for the brand and it doesn't really bring anything else. A social media influencer, it's like coming from me.
Okay.
Personally.
Maybe feeling more authentic.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Sakura?
I see it opposite, to be honest, because for me, I started it as I love photography.
Okay.
Like, that's what I love, and I actually did a blog post on this yesterday, but it's so weird for me to see myself as an influencer because I'm like, I don't know, it's like I'm just using the makeup that I like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I started my blog because I love photography, I love travel, I love fashion, but not really to say, wear this or, use this. So it's a little weird for me, but I need to see myself as a resource, you know what I mean? Okay. So I kind of have to wear that hat, so I don't really have a preference, but it is a little weird to me to kind of consider myself as an influencer, but I guess that is what I am. So, yeah.
What about you, Chelsea?
I can see both sides of it. I think I kind of see it in an aspect of marketing as well. I feel like influencer is now a word that a lot of people know about. It's something that they recognize. Mm-hmm. They hear influencer, they think Instagram or Facebook. So I kind of lean toward that, just knowing that it's something that people will understand more than content creator.
Okay. So I'm going to use it interchangeably, and I don't mean to offend anybody.
It's okay. Yeah, I don't get offended.
No. Okay. So each of you has a blog, and that blog has some longevity to it. You didn't just start it a month ago or a week ago. Kind of tell me as much as you can about your blog, like how you would recap it to a stranger that you're meeting, and then how did you even start it? How did you think, I'm gonna start recording all of this in a blog, and this is going to grow and pay dividends in the future and do this? Kind of, how did it start, and what was your vision like then, and how has it evolved? A loaded question.
I mean, I feel like my blog has changed so much over the years. I started it kind of like Sakura was saying, as just an inspirational, something just for me. And I had no aspirations for it to even be a career. I just wanted to write, I wanted to share, I loved taking photos. I just loved putting myself out there. And it actually, it started out as I just got recently married, so this was 8 years ago. I wanted to kind of say like what it was like to be like a new wife and learn how to cook, and then I got into clean eating, and then I was running marathons. Like it changed so much just based off of what I was currently doing at the time. Before I was even a mom, I'm like, this blog is never going to be a mommy blog. I am probably like epitome of a mommy blog, and it's just what you do and how you kind of go about life is just how it's kind of progressed. And mine's never really been something that I planned. I did it as a side thing for a really long time, and I just really loved it. I loved writing, I loved creating, I loved taking photos, and I loved just kind of telling my story. So I think the thing that made it the most authentic and organic was when I became a mom and I was pregnant with Vivian, because I could just be myself. And it wasn't like when she first was born, I was exhausted and I had things to say, and I wanted to be on Instagram story all the time saying what I was doing and how I was going through things, and I had no time for makeup. I had no time to put myself together. And that was where I feel like my blog really took off, was when I was able to be so authentic and myself and just say what I needed to say and put it all out there. And that's kind of where it is today. I feel like a lot of real talk posts, it's a lot about motherhood, it's a lot of lifestyle, but majority of it is about just like my life as a mom. And I just get constant inspiration I mean, we'll get there, but I just get, I don't know, I don't really plan it too much, if that makes sense too.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
So when you said, like revealing who you are, like the authentic side of you, of like losing sleep and,
right.
blogging without makeup or doing your hair and all that, like how scary is that? Like as women, we all have self-doubt and are always concerned with how we look when we leave the house, but like posting those photos and, live, in your Instagram stories and things like that, how did you get through, how did you talk yourself into that?
So I really didn't have any other choice because I didn't want to be somebody that literally was like putting on makeup just to have like a conversation with my phone. Like I feel like I'm always on Instagram stories. You know what I mean? Like I'm always talking, and like I just don't have time to put on makeup. So I think I just naturally got over it. And I remember like doing it and being like, oh my gosh, like I just like, there's a blemish, there's this or that, like whatever, someone's gonna pick me apart. People did not pick me apart. And I think that was what the most motivating thing about continuing to do it that way was, that I got so much love for just revealing who I was and not being afraid to just put myself out there and not wear makeup. And people were like, that's amazing. So I think it was the no hate part of it that got me to keep going.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I remember where I was going with the rest of it, but that's pretty much it.
Okay, so can you say the question?
Tell me how you started the blog and what was the intent when you started it and how has it transitioned?
Yeah, so in college, I went to ASU and I had an internship. And I remember that's when like the blogging world was just starting. Like literally all the big bloggers today were like still posing in front of their like garage doors, and I just like I had a really boring internship with Becca, and I was just like I became obsessed with these fashion bloggers, and I was like, Becca, we need to start a blog. I was like, let's start a blog, because we're best friends, we live together, and I was like, let's start a blog called The Bestest. And so like I just love the whole photography part of it. Like I know for my blog I'm in front of the camera, but I love being behind the camera, and I love styling and the fashion and just the storytelling part. And so we started doing it. That obviously didn't last very long, but then I started a business, and then I kind of wanted something that was mine. Like I had a couple business partners, and at this point I was just like, I just want something that's mine, that like I don't have to like talk to a business partner about and just post whatever I'm feeling and wear whatever. And so I in 2014 I was just like, I'm just gonna start my blog, and it was a lot of photography, design, fashion, travel, but through that I was sharing a lot of my personal stuff too. I feel like it was like therapeutic for me because I was with my ex-boyfriend and we, were going to get married and we did long distance and then we broke up. And like, I feel like I was sharing so much of that I feel like everyone kind of saw the personal side. And I got to share more of like being authentic and real. And now today I am engaged to my best friend and I'm, we're having a baby and, I feel like they have been able to see all that with fashion and travel. So it's become like a really personal thing for me.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been really fun.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea?
I started my current blog, almost 10 years ago now in June. I had been blogging for years before then on like LiveJournal and Zanga for anyone who did
I
that.
had
Okay. So I was always passionate about writing. That's what I, thought I always wanted to do growing up. I went to journalism school. It was something that I was super passionate about. And when I started my current blog, my now husband, then boyfriend, wanted to see what I was doing while I was away for the summer. I would spend the whole summer in Colorado with my family, and back then there wasn't FaceTime or anything like that. So we had not a very clear way of talking a lot. So I would do these posts and I'd say, here are the pictures. This is where I went today. This is what I did. And it really was for him. I had no other purpose to make it other than just showing him what I was doing. And at that time, I kind of like discovered this world of like DIY blogs. So A Beautiful Mess was just starting. There was people that were kind of affiliated with them, and I got super obsessed. I was like, I'm going to be a DIY blogger. I'm going to craft. I'm terrible at crafting. So it didn't last long. And so from there, I just kept writing, and then I kind of haven't stopped since. So my blog has really just shown who I've been in the last 10 years. I've been in college. I've, started working full time. I got married. I had a baby recently. And it's kind of just been a journal of who I am and what I've done over the last 10 years. That's how I've always looked at it. There is an aspect of it, that I've considered as things have changed and moved to moving it as more of a business. But I think at the heart of it, it's always just been who I am and who I wanted to share. The things that I was doing, stuff like that. And it's been a great way to kind of meet so many of you guys and just to connect with lots of people in the area. My husband and I run a small business now, so that's been a good way to kind of get the word out there. And I don't know, it's just been a part of my life. It's not something that I can ever see myself stopping doing or anything like that. It's a real extension of who I am.
That's awesome. It feels like, too, that, you are due to have a baby, and you two have children, that it feels like, it might be a love story that your children can look back on and see your life and, all these different phases and what you were feeling and how, all of that. And so that's pretty special.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to look at it, right? Is like you're journaling your life, because I feel like when we all started, I don't think we knew where influencer marketing was going to go, And I feel like a lot of people now are starting it like being super salesy and like, and I feel like, I think we all need to look at our blogs and our social media in that way of you are your personal brand and you are storytelling, and it's not to sell things or, at the end of the day, you kind of are, but
in the most organic way.
Exactly. I feel like a lot of people are sometimes starting blogs right now because of the perks of it, you know what I mean? But again, if you tell it in a more storytelling way, that's where you start getting like really authentic followers.
Yeah, 100%.
And so you took your blog, and then I'm sure if you've been doing this for 10 years, maybe Facebook was around, but Instagram and Twitter were, had yet to pop up or become what they are today. Talk to me about the evolution of how you began promoting your blogs on social media and at what kind of growth rate you saw your followers.
That's a tough one. I mean, things have changed so much. Like you said, I think at the time, there was Facebook, but people didn't have business pages. That wasn't something. Twitter was, very new, if not just starting, and Instagram wasn't there. So really, back in the day, if you had a blog spot, you would use like the Google Reader, and you would find people on there. Yeah. And you would only really get your blog out there and connect with other people by following someone else. You would read their blog, you would talk to them.
Blog Lovin' was a great
right.
too.
Yeah, it was a much more I think organic way of really connecting with people. You really had to seek someone out. So that's what I did, my personal opinion. But later, came Instagram and Facebook, and that really changed things.
Yeah.
But I think just finding other people who were interested in your same thing through Blog Open or whatever it was really helped.
Yeah.
Is that the same for the both of you?
I think it was. For me, 8 years ago, did Instagram, it probably was just starting to come out. But Instagram was used so different back then because I feel like it was more, it wasn't really about like a one photo, like where now you're a little bit more strategic on like your feed or whatever, but then it was almost like Facebook. Like you just were uploading like whatever you wanted to upload. I think I promoted it on Facebook or to the people that I knew, which then, pretty much got like one comment, "Hey mom." But that was, I think, the hardest thing was really putting yourself out there. And for me, it was, I took my personal Instagram to create then What Lolo Likes out of that because I had already I had people there already. But it's, it's getting people that you knew to get on board with what you were doing, which I think back then was really hard because people didn't understand what you were doing.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing for me. But, I don't know. It was hard back then. It's so different.
It's so different.
It's so different.
Lauren, I know you said you've kind of transitioned from the side hustle to this is your full-time hustle, full-time role now. But then I also see, in your stories that you're out photo shoots for other things and, putting Instagram stories out there and all the posts about the different things that you're doing. I see how, you just include your life into what you're doing.
Yeah.
But with the kids, how did that change? And I know Chelsea can probably speak to that because Ace is 6 weeks old.
It's 4 months.
4 months.
It's going by real fast.
Yeah. And then, maybe
Yeah,
what can
teach
what,
me.
yeah, teach you.
your
What can-
ways.
So I'm sorry, what was the question?
How much time are you spending each day? How much time are you committing each day to this?
I feel like this job is not your typical job. And I think it is great to have set time throughout the day, just like a normal job, but I don't know if I'm quite there yet. I just do it when I do it, and I feel when I feel inspiration. So whether that be at 6 a.m. where Alice and I are up and I'm just like, hey guys, or I'm putting a blog post up at 10, or no, it's not 10, but you know what I mean? If it really doesn't have a set time for me. I just kind of do it when I feel like doing it. I don't plan, and I think that some people would probably disagree, and they're like, you should plan out your week or whatever. For me, it's worked best when I don't plan because I think that that's where it becomes the most organic and natural for me, personally.
Chelsea?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So I am still figuring it out because this is like week 2 of me kind of being on my own. But prior to that, for the last 5-6 years, I've had my own business. So I do make my own schedule, but I've had a very structured life for the last 6 years. So I'm still kind of figuring out my balance. And I think once I have a baby, that's going to be a completely different thing. But yeah, I think we'll see how it goes once I have the baby.
I think you can try to have it. I think more go with the flow works a little bit more when you have kids because I can't tell you how many times where I'm like, well, this is the time I'm going to designate to my blog. And then Alice is like, no, it's not. So I think when you're a little bit more go with the flow, it'll all work out. You just you work around it.
Yeah, but I feel like you're always thinking about things.
Totally.
What can I share? And I was like linking up my outfit the other day, and I was like telling Cal I'm working. Excuse me, I'm working. But I feel like, but you're always thinking because I don't know. It's just what can I share? What's authentic? What would people like? Sometimes it's your day. It is your day to day. So it's sometimes hard to think this is work, and also this is what people find interesting. But it's my personal life, so it's sometimes hard for me to be I should be sharing this. But yeah, I guess really you're on all the time and you're thinking about it all the time.
I think there's days that I struggle with if I don't have a blog post up, I feel like I didn't do anything that day. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm but I just had the entire day I was on Instagram stories.
Yeah.
So it's hard to differentiate what is work, but it's all work.
Right.
So it's hard to just get your balance, I think.
Even engaging.
Yeah,
is work.
totally.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm the same. I mean, I also work full time, and then I have my son, and it's been a little difficult to kind of figure out that balance now. I was so used to having just the time where I could do what I wanted in the evenings, on the weekends, whatever it was. And for me, I took a little bit of time off to just like really soak in that time with him. And now I'm kind of trying to figure out when I do those things, because it's something I'm always thinking about. But now it's like, when am I going to do this? When am I going to post? When am I going to write?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to figure that out along the way. But it'll take a little time.
When you're nursing or on the toilet, whenever you can do it.
Yeah.
Sakura, you talked about it takes time to engage with your followers, but you guys are so successful because of the followers that you have. So you are engaging with them in a way that's meaningful for them to keep coming back and tell their friends about it. Talk to me a little bit about how you engage with your followers. What does that look like? Chelsea, I'll start with you.
I mean, it's just kind of that organic conversation. If someone leaves a comment, you want to reply to it. You know, it's literally someone talking to you. So you want to be respectful of their time. They've come to your post. They want to hang out. They want to have a good chat with you. So it's just engaging in that way. One of my favorite things to do aside from that is I have a lot of people that I follow. I have a lot of, friends out there who also, do this as well. And I want to support them in what they're sharing. I want to look at them and say, what are they doing today? What are they up to? A lot of people nowadays, like, that's how you stay in contact. You just reach out, you you share, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So just finding that balance of, communicating with the audience that you have, and then also reaching out to others, I think is important.
Okay.
I feel like you want to find that circle, and I think I'm still finding it because I have, I don't have Lauren's following, but, I feel like the following that I have, there's a lot of local people, and also like a lot of people are also like, I don't really have a big blogging community that follow me, to be honest. And I feel like when you do, you all support each other and you all like each other and comment on each other. And I feel like that helps, a lot. And I feel like I've been making more of an effort to do that. But I feel like it's kind of really, when you're engaging with other people, I feel like just showing that you're not just commenting cute, you're really listening to what they're saying and you're watching their stories. And I think that's the most authentic way to engage. And I've seen girls that just have grown so much because they put so much time and effort into engaging. Like, they have good content, but they're not just like putting content out there like crazy. They're just like really like nurturing their community, and they just like blow up because they've just made this like community. So I'm trying to be better about it, but I feel like when you have a community like that, I feel like it definitely helps for you to get more engagement, but also for you to grow too.
Okay.
For me, it's definitely Instagram stories and trying to keep up with the DMs. And then if there are multiple DMs that are similar, I'll try to kind of bring it to Instagram story and talk about it. So maybe it's like everybody's, hearing the same question, or I'll do a lot of Q&As on Instagram stories. I love like the question box and the polls and all that, just to kind of be able to answer. And then I personally love like followers to help kind of work with blog posts almost too. Like, I feel like they become almost a part of my blogs, and they're like, well, we were a part of this, I'm gonna go check out the blog post, because a lot of it is like, I do a lot of different posts that really is including them in it. So but the Q&As, Instagram stories, I just try to comment and keep up with it.
Yeah, I mean, when you have that
hard.
many followers, I can't even imagine. Like, I feel like I can barely keep up, but like, it's like, it's a lot of work. And I feel like I also feel, this is just me, but like, I just feel like a bitch when I just like it and like not respond. But
it's so hard though.
At some point you have to, because you don't have the time to respond to every comment, and
It
DMs,
is.
like, but that's just kind of what you have to do to somewhat engage back.
Well, because the other day I put a really personal post, and I received a lot of DMs on it and sharing their stories and that, and I really felt, I was like, I want to respond to everyone that's putting the effort to like literally to send me paragraphs of their own story that was similar. So I think that's super important too, and just trying to keep up.
So Chelsea, you oversee the influencer management team at Find Your Influence, and I just want to call out some of them that are here, Sarah and Megan and Piper. When we're working with, when brands come to us and say, you know, we have this product and we want to build a campaign around it, and their product is to speak to 24 to 34-year-old females who have 2 children under 4 years old who live in Phoenix and have 2 cars. Like that's the level of request that we get. But they're not looking for the influencer to fit in that. They're looking for their followers to kind of fit in that bucket. So can you tell us a little bit about your followers, like the demographics? Who do they look like as a generalization?
It's literally what you just said.
Okay.
Really? Yeah. Okay. No, I think mine are like 24. No, I don't know. I think I actually have a wide range of age.
Okay.
I think it literally goes from like 18 to 44 was the main ones. I just noticed though that I'm like 83% female. I have a lot more men than I thought I did.
Okay.
I thought I was a lot more women. And I think it's mainly Phoenix, New York, and LA.
Okay.
It's like my main demographics, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just literally did a poll, so I have a better idea, and I should look at my analytics more, but I have a lot of people that are under 30, like a lot more people than I thought, and I feel like I have a lot of like ASU girls too that follow me. I don't know why, but so yeah, I have a lot of girls that are under 30, a lot more, like probably like I think I saw like 60%, which is like, I thought I would have more 30s because I'm going to be turning 29, so closer to 30. But yeah, and then more women, West Coast for sure.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, mine's kind of similar. I mean, a lot of women also, a lot of people kind of my same age range.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a lot of the people that I connected with pretty early on, we've all grown in this community. We've all stayed connected, whether we're blogging or not anymore. I think we've all kind of, grown together and stayed in the same place. And I would say now it's, women that are close to my age, West Coast, small family, things like that.
Okay. So you all seem to get along. I saw you all hug when you got here. So
We know each other.
The community of influencers in Phoenix. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, it doesn't feel competitive. I mean, if you're all in the same age range and your followers are, the same that brand X is going after. Do you feel supportive of one another, collaborative? Talk about the relationship that you have with others like yourself.
I don't feel competitive at all.
Okay.
I think too, because it is a pretty like small community, like for the most
I
part.
feel like everyone knows everyone.
Yeah, everyone pretty much knows everyone if you're going to events or doing something like that. So I think you just kind of naturally like want to support each other. But no, I don't feel like, I think everyone has something so different to bring to the table. And I think that's like the most important thing is knowing that like, this or that, you know what I mean? Like I don't think it's about competing. I think it's just, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like Phoenix community too in general. I feel like everyone is so supportive of one another, and even like, being a business owner, with Blogettes and Wella, our company grew thanks to the community, and I feel like that's the same way with me being a blogger. I feel like we all support each other, and just like Lauren said, like we all have something so different and unique about one another, and I've never felt competitive at all. Like I feel like we're all there to support each other, and I feel like that's like kind of the best, because I mean, even in other cities, I feel like it's a little bit more competitive, but they're all at the same events too. You know what I mean? So I feel like yeah, we all get along, and we all support each other. We all bring something different to the table.
Totally.
Yeah, I agree.
I do want to go back to engagements a little bit. You talked about, you feel badly if you're just liking a post, and I understand that creating the content takes a lot of time, but the engagement takes time too. Do you see that? How do you see that divide? Is that 50-50, 60-40?
For me, 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm someone who could like work on that a little bit more, because it is, you know, it takes time, and you feel bad if you're just liking something and not really responding and giving like a very thoughtful comment. I think that's really important. Something that I'm working on, but I think it's something for everyone to consider. When you're creating content, it's only half the battle. You have to really, you know, show who you are and be engaged with anyone who's talking with you, because if you're just putting something up, you're not really showing your whole self. You're not really showing your personality. A picture can only show so much of you.
Okay. So now when you work with brands, you've all worked with a variety of different brands. I'm sure we don't have to name any brands here. They're not paying you today to speak about them. Tell me about what the most positive brand experience was like, and maybe one that was a little bit more frustrating.
I don't know if I have any, I think it's just letting me create. I feel like when a brand wants to come to you, they want what you are putting out there. So the best kind of partnerships for me are ones that will want me to create based off of what I already do. So what I let me create. I understand there's certain guidelines that people have, but I think when they just become difficult in that sense, it's just, what's the point? You know, why do you want to hire me or be a brand ambassador for a company that you're not letting me do what I do?
Right.
So I think those are kind of that frustrating parts of brand partnerships, but trying to think if there's.
I feel like when the brand is a little bit smaller and working with an influencer or blogger is new to them, they're still learning, and they don't put all the expectations out there from the very beginning. And so or add stuff, and then once you create it, they're then they'll start saying, oh, can you do this? Can you do this? And that should be all laid out in the very beginning. You should know what you are agreeing to from the very beginning, and that's why there are agreements and contracts. And guys, it's a lot more than you think. You know, there's so much, there's so many details, hashtags to approval date to, caption approvals, to so much, and I feel like people don't understand that until they're actually in it, you know. And I think the frustrating thing is when a brand doesn't know it yet, and they don't put all the expectations out there. And again, they're learning too, but I feel like you should know, okay, when do I need to post by? What are the hashtags? What do I have to tag? What's the message at the end of the day, your mission for me to communicate? I think you want to make sure you get all that, and when you don't, and you create a content and you don't post that, I feel like both sides are disappointed and frustrated. So I think that's the frustrating part, but I think it's also a learning curve too.
I agree with that. I could say from an outsider's perspective, for someone who works with brands, to partner them with influencers, that's everything that I want to advocate for. I want all of that up front, because I know how frustrating it is to get something that's half thought out and you're like, what do I do with this now? It's never my thought to go to someone with something that isn't fully complete or together. It may take a while. We might have some details in the beginning, but it's something that I want to go into it and have the influencer know this is what the expectation is, this is what we're aiming for, and have them feel like they have some creative movement there to kind of play with it. Like you said, it's always the best content that comes out when it's something that you can really handle and have your touch on, rather than something that the brand is just saying, you have to write this or you have to have it this way.
Well, I didn't prompt you on that answer, Lauren, but we've heard that so frequently that we actually just did a blog about that last week for Find Your Influence, so that we can point the brands that we work with to that, of let the influencers release control, let them do what you hired them, what you engage them to do. That's when they get the best results, when they let you use your voice.
Well, I think, with a brand, it's like you could just be hiring a model.
Right.
Just hire a model then. But you want somebody that is going to create based off of their experience or their story. So.
Yeah, and I feel like also, I think it's okay to push back too, because I feel like I've worked with a couple brands that, I send them a gallery of photos, not like a big gallery, but let's just say options of 5, right? And they pick this one, and I was like, dang it, I shouldn't have sent that one, because I know that one's a little too commercial. It's not. I know personally that it's not going to do that well on my Instagram, so that was my fault for sending it. But I pushed and said, actually, I know that this photo is going to do much better and I know I'll get more engagement here. Can we choose this one? And then I remember like even caption, like, you know, I sent a caption for approval and they added like something else to it and it just didn't sound like me and I was being a little too salesy. So I'm still learning to push back, but I asked if I can get rid of that. And of course they're like, no problem, you know, because at the end of the day, I know they want to sell, you know, their product or whatever it is. But I think for you too, you have to protect your brand too, and you have to know what's going to do well, because that's also your job for working with the brand. You want to make sure that you're going to do well for them, you know, so.
And your credibility,
So when you're working with a brand and you're posting across all of your platforms, where do you see the most engagement when you're working with brands? Is it Instagram stories?
Like as far as
Maybe like swipe ups?
I'd say both Instagram and a feed post.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like linking, if they want to see the links and the swipe ups, for sure,
totally.
Instagram stories.
Right.
But I mean, engagement wise, I feel like Instagram posts do well too. So
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So when it comes, so you're drawing on your authenticity from inspiration around you. I think I probably know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What inspires you the most? Chelsea?
Oh, I think there are a lot of things that inspire me. It's changed so much. When I was younger, I was like super obsessed with travel. I was super obsessed with coffee. It was things like that I looked to, that every young college girl does. But now it's kind of my family. It's wanting to show my son so much in life. It's wanting to show him, you know, where I grew up or the areas that I always grew up visiting, where my family's from. Things like that I think inspire me more nowadays, to get out there and to show him something new.
I'd probably agree with that. I'd say definitely family. My two girls are huge inspirations for where I get a lot of my content and just day to day. Also, my followers. I get so much so much inspiration from them, like constantly.
yeah, I would have to agree. Once this girl's out, she'll be my big inspiration too. But I feel like for me recently, you know, followers is a really big thing. Like I feel like I've just been doing Instagram and my blog just because it makes me happy and it's my creative outlet. But sometimes, like, I mean, you see the DMs, you see the comments, you see the responses. I recently, you know, asked, why do you follow me? What content do you like? And just the flood of messages that I got, I was just like inspired, because I was like, oh my gosh, people are actually like listening to me. You know what I mean? So I feel like definitely followers too.
So when I began working for Find Your Influence, explaining to my mother and my grandparents and aunts and uncles what Find Your Influence was and what social media influencers was, there's just a generation that's a whole foreign concept to them. How do you explain that to maybe your parents or grandparents, or how do you plan to explain it to your children? I mean, I'm sure your daughters see you doing videos. I'm sure Ace, you know, at some point will recognize what you're doing. How do you plan to explain that to those different generations?
Don't look at me. That was good.
Nowadays,
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
nowadays I think people know what Instagram is. So if you're saying, you know, I work with brands to do a post on Instagram or like a video on Facebook, that's for my dad. That's how I explain it. It's a thing on Facebook. You know, it's something that they'll say, this is my idea, this is the messaging, like create something awesome with it.
Okay.
So usually it's pretty basic, but I think that's the way that older generations relate to it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I feel like the numbers talk. Because when I told, you know, my family, my future in-laws, you know, that I was making this jump to do blogging full time, you know, they were like, great, like, but also kind of scary, like, oh my gosh, like, you're like, is this kind of like an irresponsible thing to do as you're about to have a baby? But there's a lot of money in it too. You know what I mean? And I feel like that allowed them to understand that this is really a business. And it was hard for even me to understand, like, I'm getting paid how much for an Instagram post? Like, you know what I mean? Right. But it really is a business. And I feel like that allowed my family to kind of understand that this is really a business and really understand like the potential in it. But it's fascinating. I feel like we're still learning so much. I'm like fascinated by the business too, and the industry, and I'm still learning so much. But I feel like that's the exciting part about this industry is that like it's kind of scary too, but it's changing so much, but there's a lot of business in it.
Yeah.
You know?
As you've built up your following, whether it's creating the content, establishing the following on Instagram, is there anything that came easy to you?
Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're really good at that.
Just talk all the time.
I would say for me, I mean, I've always been like super passionate about home decor. So like taking photos of my home and like using Pinterest as like an outlet. I think that's been really easy for me.
Okay.
The photo component. I love the photography, the styling, all that. Thank you. So that's the fun part for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so if you were to go back and speak to yourself 8 or 10 years ago before you were doing this full time, what advice would you give yourself? Knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently?
I would have put more effort into a long time ago.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think knowing what it is today, like just keep going. Just go for it. I think in general, like I did keep going despite even some friends or people that were like, what are you doing? Why are you posting another photo of yourself? It was really like, I think shocking to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody was really, other than say some of the really big bloggers, but like I remember so many friends were like, I don't get it. I don't understand. What exactly are you doing? So I think just not even, just kind of not worrying about what other people were saying and just keep going.
Yeah. I feel like we all have distractions. Like we all have a full-time job that we have to do, but this is what makes us happy. Or, you know, that was the same with me too. I owned a business and that was my priority, to grow that business, and my blog was my creative outlet, and I totally put my blog on the back burner. But Instagram made me happy, and it's like a everyday thing, so I did it. But I definitely would have prioritized it even more if I knew where the industry was going and where I knew I was going. But I always knew that I wanted to, have a blog, whether I was making money from it or not, because it made me happy, and I wanted to journal my life as I became a mom or got married and became a mom and whatever else. You know, I wanted that like photo journal. So yeah.
And I think as a business standpoint, like I think it's important to know that the influencer marketing it's so much a little bit easier today, but it did take so much time. I didn't get paid for years. You know what I mean? I just was like, freebie, oh, free clothes, oh, this or that. Like I was so happy to just take something free. But now it's a little bit different. I think just brands are more on board with what it is. So I think that's why it's a little bit easier to ask for money, and because that's kind of what it is now. But, you know, I think also knowing like when you're going to start, if you're starting your blog, don't necessarily expect to quit your day job, because it does take time and it does take effort. And I think that's the most important thing. It's just, if you love it, do it because you love it. Don't do it because of the perks, because it can take a very long time to get to the perks.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, like I said, I have been using my blog as a creative outlet for years, and it wasn't until the end of 2017, I got an email from Southwest Airlines saying that they wanted me to be one of their brand ambassadors, one of 12 of their brand ambassadors. And I was like, me? I was like, why me? Like, how did you pick me out of everyone, you know? And that's when I was like, and they were like, you have to report numbers at the end of every month and do this and do that. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, I have like I was like blogging maybe once a month, and I was like posting on Instagram every day, maybe every 2 days. But, you know, that's when I was just like, I need to take this a little bit seriously. And I was like, okay, 2018, let's look at my blog as a business. and let's put more effort and let's do this, and see where we are at the end of 2018. And I was able to see that like the return was huge if you put more effort into it and if you're consistent with it. And obviously for years people have said, just be consistent with your blog, and I was like, sure, you know what I mean? But it wasn't until last year that I took it seriously, and really, like I said, the return was huge, and that's when I was like, okay, I can do this. And me now going into it full time, it is so scary. Yeah. It's so scary. I don't think I would have had the effort to do it if it wasn't for my fiance, like being like, I want you to be happy. This is what makes you happy. Do it. But you have to look at your blog as a business, and that's something that I didn't do for a really long time up until last year. But when you do and you change your mindset, the return is huge, and it will become what you want it to. And like Lauren said, you just like can't think about what other people say. You just have to do it because you love it. And like that's when people will catch on.
Totally. And so Lauren, you kind of teed me up for this. So at Find Your Influence, we have a new product called the FYI Exchange. So you were talking about, you used to be like, oh, I want a free t-shirt or I want free product in exchange for content. It took you a while before you were able to make money off of that. So the FYI Exchange is just that. So if you're a content creator, social media influencer, and you join our platform, as brands come on and say, oh, I have these new shoes, I don't have the budget to pay somebody to create content, but I'm happy to give them product in exchange for content. That is something that we're offering too.
Which I think is great for, especially if you're beginning and you want to just create content. I think that's amazing. And free shoes.
And it also goes, as we're all talking about how your blog has changed, as your life has changed and grown, and you were married and then you have children, there might be points in your life where you may go back to that. Like you may be pregnant with your second child, and there's someone posts in an FYI Exchange that, hey, we're looking to give away this crib in exchange for 5 pieces of content. You're like, oh, I'm at that point in my life. I'm happy to do that if I can get a crib out of it. So just some unique opportunities there. Was Southwest Airlines your first brand partnership?
No,
Okay.
I've had other brand partnerships, but that was like my year, that was like a full year contract with them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have a year-long contract with Southwest, so it was just like, yeah. But I have had other brand partnerships, but you also have to ask for what you want, I feel like I was just like, I was getting free stuff, and I wasn't asking. And I feel like once you make a couple deals, you're a little bit more, I don't like using the word aggressive, but you can be a little bit more aggressive and say,
what you're worth.
Know what you're worth, and you ask for it. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of brands at the end of the day, they'd rather not pay, like if you're going to do it for exchange,
Yeah.
But the second you ask, there's been so many times where I was like, actually, this is what I'm going to this is my fee, and this is how much I charge. And they'll be like, okay, and they agree to pay,
Right.
But they're always like, not everyone, but.
No, but I think a lot, I think because it's almost like, let's stand together as bloggers people and not do things for free. Because then I think companies then just get used to wanting to do everything for free. And if this person's doing it, then why wouldn't you do it for free?
Yeah, totally.
Do you guys each remember your first brand partnership?
Like a paid one?
Yes.
No.
Or unpaid?
I've had I think it was Press Juicery. It was like $100 for a post, and I did a giveaway.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Years ago.
I don't remember what my first.
Do you remember your favorite brand partnership?
I'm so bad. What about Pampers?
I love Pampers.
Yeah.
I would say like a current one. I was thinking like in the past, but my current one would probably be Pampers Pure for sure. That's a good one.
Yeah. I think my first
And
one.
citrine.
That's a good one too. I think my first one was Starbucks, and it was kind of one of those moments too where I was like, "Why me? Like, why are you reaching out to me?" Yes, I was like coffee obsessed. My whole Instagram feed was just pictures of my coffee. But I was kind of like, "Why are you reaching out to me?" And it was a really cool opportunity. They had a great vision, and they were paying me to do it. And at the time, I was like just getting out of college, and I'm like, this is awesome. This is like what I need. And that kind of, I think, gave me a little bit push to be like, I got to keep going with this. I got to keep exploring this.
Okay. I'll ask one final question, then I'll open it up to the group. What brand would you aspire to work with? Like, who is this ideal brand that you're like, oh my gosh, if I could get a call from them, that would be huge?
I'd probably say an airline.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I have the contact.
I feel like an airline would be really cool. I mean, I really love the traveling and doing all that, so I think take me anywhere, I'll go. Yeah.
Probably like, I mean, kind of going with that, like a hotel partnership.
Like
I've had a couple, but not like, you know.
Let's go to Africa.
Yeah.
You
know? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think mine would be travel too, and airlines. Something where like now, before I would just be my husband and I, but I could bring Ace along, and it's a way to show him new things. Like that's what I'm so excited about, is to show him everything new, and that would be the great opportunity to kind of bring him along.
Okay. Before I open it up to anybody, was there anything that you wanted to say that I didn't ask?
I think relationships are everything. I think like networking and relationships are everything, and that's like even outside of like the blogging world. Like I think when I started Blogettes and Wella, like relationships are everything, and make friends, and you know, don't hesitate to like ask too, you know. Like I remember when I was going full time, like I just reached out and said, hey, I am going blogging full time. Like if you have any campaigns or anything, like I know I'm not like XYZ, but you know, like just think of me, and you know, and you can ask that because you created that relationship with them, you know.
Totally.
So
and I think just go to events, like go like this, like you're gonna have a little time to chat with each other, like go mingle and get to know each other. When I first moved to Phoenix, I knew nobody, and I went to Phoenix Fashion Week by myself. It was very awkward, but I went by myself. So I think just put yourself out there and just like try to meet people. And, you know, the blogging world in Phoenix is very small, as much as like, I feel like, you know, blogging is big, but like everyone's very much supportive of one another.
Yeah.
So I think just get in touch with different people and make friends too.
And I think that's huge, because kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, like my friends don't besides Becca, like my friends don't understand how important engaging on your photo is. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure you guys understand, you guys know too, like some of your friends like don't understand.
Like from college.
Yeah,
like
from
people,
college.
like your friends that aren't bloggers.
Your friends that aren't bloggers, like they don't understand how important that comment is to you, you know? And so like by going to events like this, finding your community, supporting one another, you guys all can support one another. And I'm still learning that too, you know, but I feel like that's where you can really grow all together. So
I agree. Everything they said is so true. You really want to find a community, and the community here in Phoenix, like everyone is so great. I mean, everyone is so supportive, so chill. Like it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
I've been in other places and seen communities that people have, and I think we have something special here. I don't see that in a lot of other places. So I would definitely say reach out, get involved, make friends. Like don't be afraid to go to events.
Collaborate.
Yeah.
Collaborate
take
with
each
one
other's
another.
photos.
Yeah, totally.
Well, before we open it up to questions, I do want to thank Ashlyn and the team here at the Emerald for opening this space up for us today. Thank you, Ashlyn. Thank you, Sakura. Who has questions for these ladies? Don't be afraid.
I'd like to piggyback off of something you guys were just talking about. So I don't come from a blogging background, but what would your advice be for somebody who's trying to build a brand when you don't have a presence or a brand out there, with so many different outlets today as far as paid advertisement on Facebook, or linking up with a company, or collaboration events? There's just podcasts, so many different outlets on two different spectrums. One for somebody who doesn't have money, and the other one who does have the money to be able to invest into it. What would you say would be the best, like, first kind of out of the gate way to start branding yourself?
Good photos.
Yeah.
I think really investing in photography is huge, because I think that's when people go to your page or your Instagram and they're looking at your brand and products, they're going to want to see a really good photo of what you're presenting.
Yeah. I mean, I come from the branding background, so I agree. Like, I feel like if you're Beyonce, you don't have to follow anyone. You know what I mean? And you have millions and millions of followers. But like when you are starting off, you really need to know your brand. You really need to know your style. You really need to, I feel like you have to curate who you are. And that's where you should put all your effort in it. Because when you do that, other people will see it and they get attracted to it. They kind of love it and they want to start following you. And that's where the attractions start. And then of course you engage and things like that. But I feel like your brand matters so much because we're super judgy in today's world. You know what I mean? If you have a crappy Instagram, like you're just like, oh, this brand is probably like, whatever. You know, whatever, right. You know, they're probably not legit or, you know, you just can't help it because you see other companies and brands and people putting a lot of effort into that. So I feel like, you know, it sucks that we are super judgy, but at the same time, there are people that are putting a lot of effort into curating their brand. And I think that's where you should put all your effort into it, even when it comes to like a logo. And I am, you know, I'm all about doing everything myself rather than like paying someone out to do it. But I have to say, like, not because, well, a creative studio does branding, but that is literally where you can make your best investment, I think, in the very beginning is having a legit brand and knowing who you are, like, instead of just like, you know, let's just say you're starting a business, just like focusing so much on your product, you know what I mean? You really need to focus on really like your brand at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, like you were talking about money-wise, so collaborate with photographers that are also coming up. So that's like a great way, I think, to kind of balance. So like if you have money, obviously you can pay the best photographer, and then if you don't, there's so many photographers that would be happy to collaborate just to get some work out for themselves. So I think just reaching out to different photographers and seeing who could help in that. That was what I did when I first started with blogging, is collaborating with photographers.
I might also add to like invest in your website. I think that's something earlier on, like blogging sites were not what they are today, but it's something that I've learned as I've, you know, been in it a little bit more, that it's important. Like that's your site, you own it. That's where your content's going to live forever. And to have it be a place that's you know, functionable, searchable, and also kind of appeasing. Like it goes along with your photography. If your site looks good, photography looks good, it's going to be a huge thing that I think people realize. So I'd say invest in your site.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who else?
Yes.
How much effort do you guys put into Facebook, if any?
Very slim.
I wish I could just delete Facebook, to be honest. I feel like Facebook is so weird for me because it's literally people I've known from high school. And then I have that's attached to my business page, because you need like actual Facebook page to have a business page. And then as far as the business page, it's just like, if I can remember, I'll throw up my like latest blog posts. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I haven't utilized Facebook to any sort of potential that it has.
For like businesses, it's different. I feel like for a business, it's different.
Because it's almost like Yelp in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like I know tons of businesses that like just does wonders because of Facebook. They get tons of sales, like, but I feel like you also need to know, like, I feel like a lot of people, when they start a business or a blog, they just spread themselves thin and they do a little bit of everything. But I feel like it's okay to focus on where your return is too.
Yeah, I agree. I think Facebook is also a good place if you're kind of starting out. Like that's where your friends and family are, especially your family. They're going to be the ones supporting you. They're going to be the ones sharing. And again, like they're the ones that see your content, but they might connect you with someone else who wouldn't have found you otherwise. Yes.
I have a two-part question. How active are you guys actually pitching brands yourself versus using like a talent management doing that? And then I also noticed that you touched on like travel brands are kind of like your bucket list items. Are you actively pitching travel brands? And if so, like what are kind of the challenges you may or may not found with landing those partnerships?
Well, so I feel like I used to spend a lot of time reaching out to brands. Now I wish I had more time that I could do that, but I don't. So a lot of the opportunities just come to me. and then it's brought to management team. And then travel. What was the question? I'm sorry.
I was just saying, you guys all kind of touched on travel as being bucket list items
Yeah.
and brand partnerships. So I was just curious, like, what your challenges have been with potentially securing those or trying to land those.
I think if you're like maybe traveling somewhere, you could reach out to certain businesses or hotels or something that maybe you like. If you already have that planned, you can kind of do it that way. I don't know. I don't really.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Like for travel specifically, if I'm going somewhere, I will reach out to the hotels that I'm interested in partnering up with and reach out to them via media kit. And
Hope
yeah.
for
Are
the
you
best.
finding them receptive?
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, totally. But I think that's the great thing about like hotels is when you have a contact, like they have hotels everywhere. So like I have a relationship with Hilton. I have a relationship with Hyatt. There's this bug. And it makes it easier to say, hey, Andrea, like I'm going to this place. I know there's a Hilton or there's a Hyatt. Like, can you send me the contact for this person? And then I reach out and you already have it in. So that's why relationships are so important. But as far as reaching out to brands, I honestly haven't reached out to a ton. I haven't because I really didn't really have time in the last few years. But I've been reaching out to more recently, and they're super receptive. And but a lot of the brands that I do work with, they have reached out to me. But I want to make more effort as I go full time to work directly with the brand that I really want to.
I think it's like for me more day to day too. Like if it's something that I'm like, oh, I'm starting to do, Alice with, baby led weaning. So then you think about, okay, we can maybe partner with a high chair or something like that. You kind of do it based off like that as well.
And when you're not being managed, also like PR companies are great great contacts too because they have a ton of brands that they work with, and PR companies are great too.
I would say too, if you're looking at like working with more people who are like in the travel area, tourism boards, I mean, they really don't have a lot of budget to put to those, but I think those are great contacts to have. They're always looking for someone to come to their city and create content centered around their town so that they can showcase to other people who might be coming to them, what they have to offer.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge benefit.
And a lot of them too, like a travelers bureaus, they'll like come and they'll do meetings and invite a bunch of people to them. I think within the last 2 years, it's been, I've had a meeting with Napa, Hawaii. I went to Kauai. That was, okay, I missed it. I forgot. I went to Kauai. That was probably one of my favorite partnerships. So a lot of them put on kind of Phoenix meetings where they get a bunch of bloggers to come and learn a little bit about it and then potentially talk about traveling to Kauai.
I have had brands that I love that I use personally outside of a partnership, and I got a partnership out of that.
Yes.
There's been a ton, and that's kind of what you want, right?
Yeah.
You love a brand so much, and then you're using their product or whatever, and then they reach out to you for a partnership. Or it might not be a bad idea to, at that point, reach out to them and say, hey, I clearly love your product. I've been using it forever.
Yeah.
I would love to work with you guys,
That's the easiest way,
Yeah.
honestly, because they can see the authenticity in what. You're not just hey, I you know what I mean? They can actually see that you're using it. And so constantly tag, you know? Always tag what you're doing, and then reach out based off that for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to piggyback off of that, the way that you reach out to people is, I know you guys said you get a bunch of messages, because I'm sure you get a lot from your followers, but would you do it via email, or do you obviously love to respond to them, but I know going through, is that efficient for someone who wants to, I don't know, does it seem authentic to you for someone to reach out via direct message, or what do you prefer would be more professional?
So every time a company has reached out to me through DM, I always say, please email me, because I can't it'll be gone. You know what I mean? So, and then you just forget. Like I've had even recently like a company that's like, oh, let me just send you some earrings, and then you're like, well, I don't know where that person is, you know? So I think email is always best. And it's just the most professional.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yes.
We've been talking a lot about how there really still aren't defined rules as to who pitches the idea, the brand or the blogger. So what are you each finding as far as like percentages of a company coming to you with the offer or you asking for it?
Like with the
Like is it 50-50 for you? Is it, more 60% you're asking for the offer and 40% they're offering?
I would say for me personally, I feel like I've seen a lot more like they say what their budget is. Or sometimes they don't even say what their budget is. They say this is what it is. And I will say, hey, well, this is actually my rate.
Negotiate.
Yeah, and negotiate from there.
I think everything's always negotiated.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever really like a this is it and then it's very rare.
Yeah,
I'd say.
and it's hard because every partnership, even if it's like an Instagram post, right? Every partnership takes different work.
Scope.
Like,
they're so different.
yeah, so different. And so like you don't want to cut yourself short either. So I feel like once you know the full scope of, what you need to do, then at that point you have your kind of like rate, but you can always like ask for more if you know that it's going to take more work.
And I think too, like having conversations with brands, like and letting them know, like for me personally, I don't love doing just one post because it doesn't look authentic, and so sometimes I'll say, well, if let's talk about maybe making it something more. So then you have a longer term partnership, or maybe you've added a little bit more, but you're like, but in the end, my followers are going to understand that I really love this because they've seen it multiple times versus just that one time.
Yeah.
So you can even add, okay, how about we add also like an Instagram story, or I'm talking about it, or whatever it is, or a giveaway, something makes it a little bit more real.
With your
Yeah,
life
just
rather
like
than
real
one-off.
than just, hey, I like this brand. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? For me, personally.
Yeah. And sometimes like when they reach out though, like they keep it like super general and you don't know if it's like free or if it's like if they have a budget, like you just don't know,
Right.
They just reach out and say, hey, we would love to work with you. And it's
Right.
like, okay, well,
What does that mean?
what does that mean? Like, so I feel like brands are, again, learning a lot too, and they kind of like put it all out there now in the initial email, but still there are a lot of brands that don't, and you have to kind of like
Say what it is.
yes,
Right.
exactly.
But I do think because there are a lot of influencers that do just go, sounds good, I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
So I think they almost do generalize it
Yes.
because they're hoping you're just going to accept it.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah, I would say always like don't be afraid to reach out and say like, I love this idea, I love your brand, I want to work with you. But do you have like a campaign brief, or are you able to kind of share with me the budget that you're working with? That really gives you the position to say this makes sense. This budget doesn't work within my scope, or to kind of decide for you like what would make sense. Maybe I can't do 3 Instagram posts, but maybe I could do an Instagram and like 5 Instagram stories. Something that it makes it so you feel comfortable, and also that's a partnership at that point. You're really working with them to tell them this works best with my audience, because at the end of it, you know them best.
Someone in the back have a question?
So how do you make that transition organically? Obviously, like motherhood's a big example, but also like as someone's starting off and the advice is like, well, find 2 or 3 things that you're really good at and blog about that. But when you love a million things, how do you say like, well, I can't blog about that because I'm supposed to be blogging about this right now?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like a lot of people end up becoming lifestyle bloggers for that reason, but I also
it is a little bit of
it is a little bit of everything, and people start like really liking that individual, and they're like, now I just want to know everything about you, but I feel like definitely when starting off, having that, it doesn't have to be one thing, but I feel like it does help because you have a specific demographic to kind of reach out. But I also get it. Like, I started off as a lifestyle blogger from the very beginning, but I think people knew that I had a lot of photography, and I also did a lot of graphic design when I first started, but I think it definitely does help when you have like a specific category in the beginning, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think for me, when I started, it was a specific. I was doing clean eating for the most part and talking about that. And
Really?
I think, yeah, clean
Oh,
eating.
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, clean eting. I love pasta now. So I'm not a clean eater, guys. Don't go to me for clean eating. But yeah, I think just kind of find, and I don't think you have to figure it out at the beginning. I think just do it. And I think like so many people are like waiting for that right moment. They're like, well, I'm not going to start my blog because I don't really know what to do. And it's like, if you have that, creative, like if you have like something flowing, just do it. And then if it doesn't end up being that, it's okay. Like, no one's going to my blog for clean eating right now. It's okay. Nobody knows, like right now what people know is what I'm putting out there. So I just think if you're having like, specific thoughts and you're just kind of going with it, just go with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like that's literally how my blog has been, and nobody cares. You know what I mean? Nobody cares what you once did. You just have fun with it too.
Yeah, I think that is important. Mine was more lifestyle, literally what I was doing that day. And then I did kind of transition into fashion, and that's something that I was passionate about, and I found a lot of joy in that. And since then, I've kind of like transitioned to more lifestyle because I want to talk about home and travel and my family. I think it just has to fit to what you're wanting to do, what you're wanting to talk about. Because at the end of the day, like, you are writing your posts, you're creating this content, and it's something that's going to live with you forever. So make it something that you're excited about first, and then you'll see the return later.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I just wanted, before I ask my question, thanks for taking the time to just meet with all of us and share your experience. It's just really, really nice to be in a room with a bunch of girls who know and get it. But my other question is, with the importance of you guys saying to join a community, find the people who get it, how do you like keep from blending in with that community? How do you like stand out and not just become like a member of the pack, so to say?
That's good. Do your own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of fashion out there. There's a lot of bloggers doing the same thing. But whether it be your personality or just maybe something a little different. Like for me, I was kind of doing like the fashion stuff, but I didn't want to just do fashion because I wasn't about, I'm the best fashion person. I wasn't trying to put that out there. Mine was just like, this is what I like. I wanted to also help animals. So my thing was I did a dog of the week, and I had a dog in my photo shoots. And that was a dog that was from a rescue, and it was to get the word out for a dog. So that was like my accessory. That was like my purse.
And like right when I started following you.
And I need to bring those back. Now it's my kids. But that was kind of something that I wanted to put something that was my like a passion of mine, which was rescues and helping animals. Put that into my blog and make it something a little bit different. You don't have to have something that's so out of the box, but like just be you and bring something that's like your passion or your personality, and just bring it out there, because you will stand out. And everyone is so different, and I think that's what's so cool about the blogging world, is that it is ultimately you. Mm-hmm. And sure, there's a lot of them, but I don't know, just do you.
Yeah. Totally. I have a few friends that are huge, like they make millions on from blogging, but specifically like to know it. And their content is more iPhone photo, like wherever they are, just take a photo, let's link up what you're wearing, and like get it out there. And for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, making $1 million, that sounds great, but I already know that, like, for me, I like the photography part of it. I like being creative and styling the photo. And so, like, you know, I always have to like have a talk with myself and Jenny, and I'm like, it's like I want to do that, but that's not who I am, and it doesn't feel authentic for me to just like go out there and take a picture on my phone, because I like the styling part of it, you know. So like it's something that I have to like constantly remind myself to not compare myself. I think we all have that conversation, no matter how big you are, how long you've been blogging, or how long you've been on Instagram. You still have that conversation with yourself, and you have to, because you have to listen to yourself and say like, does this feel right to me? Like, do you actually like doing this? Does this feel authentic? Because the second it doesn't, then you're doing something wrong.
And people will see that.
People will totally catch on, you know? So I think, you know, just do what feels right and what makes you happy and what you like. Don't copy everyone's editing style. Like, don't buy this person's
Just don't copy anything.
Yeah, just do what you truly like, and like, you can be I always say you can be attracted to a million things, but at the end of the day, whatever you do should reflect you. You know? So like, don't get distracted by what you're attracted to, because at the end of the day, like, you need, and whatever you do and whatever you post, it has to reflect you.
Because brands will see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of trends on Instagram, on blogs. There's a lot of things that everyone's doing. And from my experience, brands see that and they say, I don't want to work with someone who uses the same preset, or I don't want to work with someone that posts the same style of photos, you know, all 6 of these people. They're really looking for the individuals. And I think it's so important if you can maintain that and really show who you are and show your own style. The brands are going to see that. Everyone else is going to see that, and they're going to know that like you have stayed true to yourself and not kind of gotten lost in this world of everyone looks the same, everyone's talking about the same thing.
And that's why the branding part, again, is so important. To like, take yourself out to coffee and like think about like who you are and what you like, because I feel like, again, there's a lot of distraction, and sometimes one day you're editing your photo bright and airy, and then the next day you're like, oh, I want to edit my photos like this, and I'm moody today. And I feel like a lot of people do that, but it's seriously like, it's a commitment, you know what I mean? Because people will catch on if you're consistent, you know? And yes, I always say your brand can evolve with time and what's happening in your life and all that, but you want to make sure that you are consistent and you know who you are, rather than you're getting distracted by what everyone else is doing.
Ashlyn.
You guys said that investing in photography is key in finding, you know, photographers that you can pay or collaborate with. At one point, you probably need to learn photography skills yourself, since you probably won't be able to pay them for a photo every day. And early on, what did you guys find the best advice into getting behind the camera, learning those skills? And was it always a certain camera? Sakura, you mentioned not particularly liking the iPhone, but do you guys have a preference on how to kind of make the move?
I started off with the love of photography. My New Year's resolution was to be a little bit more in real time. So like, or in real life, IRL, and do more iPhone photos, because iPhone photos are great, you know, but I feel like I just didn't want to like post a photo right there. You know, that's just not my brand. But, I mean, today, like, I feel like I just learned, like, even when it comes to Lightroom, and like, I really highly recommend trying to learn yourself. And if you can pay for a photographer, or if you can collaborate it with them, great, because the return is huge when you have great content. But majority of the time for me, I have Kel or Jenny help me take the photo, and then I do all my editing. But I find joy in that, and I know that I'm good at it. If that's not my strength, then I would 100% work with someone, because I know that that's not my strength.
Yeah. I've been working with a photographer my entire blogging existence. So for me, and I think that's why my feed is so up and down, because I literally am real time, and then I have professional. So some will be iPhone, maybe I'll bring out my normal camera. I think mine is just all over the place, but that's just me. I don't have a specific thing, but definitely invest. you know, if I want to do a plug, the Lauren Style is doing a learn your course. Just so you know.
Yep.
So funny.
I feel like people are very intimidated by like doing things, going on Photoshop, going on Lightroom, but like it's really not that hard. And I feel like that's why there's YouTube there.
Yeah.
That's why there's courses, tutorials. Try it out before you maybe invest in a photographer or whatever it is. You know what I mean? But I feel like you always have to be like, I can do it myself.
Right.
You know, you have to have that attitude.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you can, investing in your camera equipment early on is really important. I know people kind of harp on different camera buys and things like that, but like a good lens will get you really far.
Yeah.
And then just using YouTube to learn how to use your camera, how to put it off of auto, how to set the light, things like that. And ask a friend. If you have a friend that's a photographer, say, can you show me how you do this? Or what do these numbers mean? I learned so much just from friends who are photographers, and then kind of brought my husband into it and taught him how to do it.
Smart.
Don't be afraid though. I mean, everyone has to learn at some point. Everyone has to kind of try that. And again, like Sakura said, if it's not something you don't feel good about, it's not a strength, then you don't have to do it. But I'd say give it a shot, because I mean, I think taking the photo for me, or having my husband take it and say like, this is what I'm looking for, that's part of like the creative process for me. I really enjoy that. So I'd say just invest early if you can and play around with it. Have fun.
Yes.
Hi, thank you for all of your advice. I do have a very specific Instagram question. So right now, we as influencers have a problem. We can either stay on a personal profile, we can move to a business profile, or we can wait for Instagram to release their influencer profile. What do you think is the best way to go? Because right now I'm on personal, and I don't know how I feel about switching to business, because they want you to buy ads, and that's how they kind of push it.
Yeah. You don't have to buy ads.
I work in analytics as well, and I kind of see people's Instagrams grow. And so that's kind of my personal fear, that it's just, it won't work for a smaller. I only have 10K, so I don't want it to drop.
I don't know about the dropping situation, but I think just having a business profile is always good, because you can relay like your analytics to the brands, and I think that's super important. And you can kind of follow it yourself. I don't know anything about the drop situation, and I know you don't have to buy ads or pay for ads. I would switch to business personally. I think I did that right away when it became the option. I don't know even about the influencer profile.
Yeah, I don't either. What's that?
What is that?
So it's something that Instagram has been testing for the last few months. I don't know if any of you are in tech or anything like that, but
Nope.
I've been watching, and they've been releasing it on certain profiles, and it's literally a brand, like a profile area for influencers, where people can get in contact with you. It says that you're an influencer and you're selling these products, so it's kind of forcing
So weird.
sales and stuff. So it's gonna be really cool, but I don't know if I can switch over to business right now or just wait for that influencer profile whenever it's going to come out.
I would just switch over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd just get over there.
Yeah, I don't know what.
I don't know, and you never know what is going to happen
Yeah.
too. Maybe it's something that they don't follow through. I haven't heard about it, but I think just switch over to business, because it'll just give you a little bit more information as far as like your profile and what you want to give to brands.
I think they also give you a $30 ad credit when you switch over, so the first ad's free, basically.
Yeah, I don't personally do ads.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know much about the ads, but
If you are gonna sponsor an ad, I always say have a call to action. If it's a giveaway, or like, you know what I mean, like maybe that's when you want to do a sponsored post. But when you if it's just like a regular post, it might be a little too pushy and salesy.
Yeah.
So
especially if it's everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So.
I'm actually really familiar with Facebook ads. I just invested a lot of money in them. So I'm learning trial and error. You really just wanted to build an email list. So if you don't currently have an email list that you want to stay in front of 24/7, that's what you're doing, is you're just building to constantly have a drip campaign in front of them so that everything you're rolling out, you're just constantly in front of them without having to pay it. So just to give you guys an idea, I spent $1,000, got me 200 leads. But they're constant and they convert at a very high percentage, depending. But you have to have an opt-in. You have to have a free giveaway, whether it's a guide or something that they're opting into. And then you're just basically nurturing them. Mm-hmm. So you have to understand that people that come to you want to come to you for something free. Everybody wants something free, but the trick for you is let them have it free, and then you're nurturing them for whatever product and services you're offering.
Mm-hmm. And that's the call to action.
Yes,
they get the free stuff.
That, yes.
So I feel like that's why you should always have, if you're going to push something and pace for an ad, you want to push a giveaway or a call to action. So
I will say though, it's amazing that you think how many people, like how many ads flow through, right? And you're like, there's no way anybody would ever click on this or want to be a part of this. It's amazing how many people do. Mm-hmm. Because you're thinking they're seeing all these companies all day long. I don't ever click on them, right? Mm-hmm. But there's actually quite a few people, anywhere from 10 to about 15 a day, running $20 a day.
Mm-hmm. You had a question at that table?
Yeah. What should you include in a media kit? Should you have one, especially as you're starting out?
I personally think media kits are so important. Mm-hmm. Like, especially if like you don't have that big of a following or a bunch of numbers to at the end of the day report to them. But I think it really shows them how professional you are, and you want to make sure that that media kit looks good. Like, I put a lot of effort in my media kit, and like it's simple. I just have like a little bit about me, about my blog, demographic, yep, numbers, your following, your analytics, and I always say, if you don't have a lot of numbers to report, then just do like growth percentage too, like how much you're growing, because it's like, always put your launch date, like when you started your blog, or so they can say like, oh, like she's new, yeah. But her growth rate is 60%, whatever it is.
Maybe where you're from too. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of brands, and I actually got this comment where somebody was like, they were looking for somebody on Instagram, and they always like that somebody put where they're from in your bio, because some brands will look at it and like, oh, we're looking for Phoenix or whatever, and they're like, I don't know where this person's from. She could be from, you know what I mean? So I think that's a good one. I don't know if you put rates in Media Kit. I think you could maybe put like inquire about rates or something, because again, all scope is so different, and you could say a post is 1,500 and they're like, perfect, 1,500, okay, and then it's something different.
But then if you are really big, it might be a way to like
make
just
it more,
put it in your media kit, so you don't have to deal with brands that won't pay anything at whatever your rate is. So I know a lot of big bloggers sometimes do put it in, so they don't have to like work with, they can just say, this is my minimum, but my personal media kit is like super visual, because that's what I sell, like is like the visual component, the photography component. So my media kit is super visual. I just want to make it look pretty, so they know at the end of the day, like that's what they are going to get by working with me. And then past partnerships, like that's another one.
That would be my recommendation. If you can showcase the kind of work that you've done in the past, and if you haven't worked with anyone in the past, show something that you're proud of. Show the photos that you love the most, that really showcase who you are, what you're showing, what you're wanting to tell, your story. That'll really draw people in and let them kind of paint a quick picture of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like when you reach out, like it's almost better to have like a brief email, rather than like a long email, because no one likes to read long emails. And, just say like a brief, like the objective of that email is, why you want to work with them, and then please see my media kit. It's almost kind of like a resume.
Yeah. It's good to kind of make it like a little bit of a story of why you want to work with them. Mm-hmm. I think they appreciate it more than like just like robotic.
Yeah. And I just made mine on Keynote. Which is basically PowerPoint. I know Photoshop, but it's just easier to like do it on Keynote and just update the numbers every month, and
So you did like slides?
Mm-hmm.
How many? I don't know if that's too specific.
Probably like 5 or 6. But again, I just have like I don't know, categories.
I think mine's a one pager.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah.
For everyone.
There's benefit of having both. You could have like a one pager that's just like, this is who I am, these are my
Mhm.
numbers, whatever it may be, this is where I'm from, and then have a longer one that maybe you could tailor to whoever the brand is. It could showcase photos of all your travels or photos of your home, whatever it is that would make sense for that brand.
But really, like, I feel like is like a closer. But if you have a media kit, I think for especially for small, medium bloggers starting off.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, thank you to Chelsea and Lauren and Sakura for being here today. Can we give them a round of applause?